What's the point in watching a video if you don't get to watch some struggle? Okay. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Mark's RC. What do you know, I'm actually doing another mod video, something I haven't done for a couple months, and that's because today I got these in the mail. That would be the hub adapters to convert the Mini Z wheels over to standard 7mm hex. So those are going to get installed, and as well the light kit has arrived. So we're going to kind of run through the steps of how to get all that stuff put on, installed. These are actually the wheels and tires that are going to go on here. Some cross RC. Let's get right at it. For those of you who have Mini Zs out there, I'm sure you know how to take them apart. And as you can see here in the light, I've had this thing now for all of 2 days, and I've managed to put a couple of good scratches on it, rolling it here on my kitchen crawling course. This hasn't gone outside yet, but I'm sure as soon as it does, it's going to get beat up even more. Let's start with the lights, because I've got the hot glue gun all warmed up and ready to go for that. I'm just going to plug this in and test, just to double check which ones are which. This plug always kind of goes in a little bit difficult here. Just do it on camera so you can watch me struggle. Because what's the point in watching a video if you don't get to watch some struggle? Okay. Now that we got that plugged in, we're just going to see what's what here. Okay. Red is, go ahead, you know, they've got red heat shrink all around on the red and black on the clears from the front, so pretty good indication there. There are dummy LEDs located inside of here that are actually held in with a tiny little drop of hot glue. Other LED back in, but first these have got to come out of here. So sometimes it takes a set of needle nose maybe. So I'm not sure if you can see, but that right behind where my finger is, then of course you can see where that is still in there. So I'll take this next one out and try and grab right onto the back side of that and sort of twist a little bit. And that should slide right out, so that has your dummy LED. Okay, just to recap, red, of course, was the rear. Okay, so you can see where I had that LED seated in there. Now all I'm going to do is just take one little hot glue drop, and I'm going to give that a couple seconds to set up. Press on it, make sure that it's in there. And once you start to see that sort of change color a little bit, you know that it's set up well enough that you can start working on the next one. There is just enough wire to be able to get these over into the position, and then you're going to have just enough to be able to sort of quote-unquote wire manage these into the wheel wells. So now that this other one's in position here, I'm just once again just going to take another drop of hot glue, barely squirt a little bit on there, that it doesn't need half a stick to hold it. And once again, just kind of sort of hold that for a second. Now, we're going to do the fronts. This is just a super easy mod. You know, the kits are only $9.99 from A-Main. I believe shipping is $4.95 or something along those lines, and that gets you 3-day priority select shipping, and the stuff is sitting in your hands ready to be installed. And it is such an easy mod to do that does make these things just look great when it's done. I did this to my other one just last week, or 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. Okay, our glue's setting up again here, so time for number 4. While that front is sort of drying, can actually wire manage the back. Now, how I did my last one, basically just before I set the wire up, right about where this line is here, above the fender, I'm just going to put a single drop of hot glue, and then I'm going to press the wires down into that. And take the two wires and just press them right into it. Be sure. So basically repeat performance on the other side, right about where that line is, middle of the fender, over the top of it on the inside. Another drop of hot glue, and just take those two wires, press them right down onto that. And the front's really the same thing. And I really want to say that you want to try and keep these to the inside of the fender wells, because if you put them directly straight behind where they come out of the light buckets, I think you kind of run the risk of putting, right when this thing mounts on there, you're going to have the wires are going to be sitting along with hot glue, maybe holding them in, but they'd be sitting like right over the top of the shocks. So like I say, you want to maybe just kind of shoot for the inside of the fender well a little bit. And then once you have it there, you can kind of straddle that and just sort of hold it into place for a second or two. We're going to do the driver's side, and that'll be it. So one last little drop of hot glue here. Sorry, my thumb is kind of blocking the light. And folks, that's pretty much how you install the Mini Z light kit. So let's go ahead and install this back onto the truck itself. Make sure we got that connector oriented properly. And maybe using your fingernails kind of press that down like on both sides, and it really gets it seated in there pretty well. It's a tough connection to make for sure. And there's exactly enough to be able to reach the front with no problem. And that is the body snapped back on. Let's give it a test light here and see what we've got. Oh, look at that. Front lights, tail lights. It's all lit up now. That's great. Okay. So that's mod number one, folks. And we're going to get on to installing these new wheels and tires with these 3D Sleeken adapters. You can find these on eBay. They are, how much were these? 12, 11 or 12.99. He has a couple different sets, and we're going to get to installing these. I've already pre-cut the front two wheels. You do need, with these Cross RC, you do need to clean out the little additional kind of excess pieces of plastic that are in here. Let's see if I can point this out with something here. Right here, you have in between each screw, there's a tiny little ridge. Those ridges will interact negatively, unfortunately, with the screw heads of the front axle. So what you just need to do is take an X-Acto knife, hobby knife, or what have you, and clean those out to at least the depth of the screw head. And once you have that all opened up, cleaned out, and it doesn't have to necessarily look pretty because no one's ever going to see it, but once that's cleaned out, the wheels spin with no problem. So here we go. Let's install these. This is a 1.5 millimeter hex. The really cool thing is too is that he includes longer screws to get these mounted on here, and as well you're going to get a nice 3D Sleeken sticker. If you want to go ahead and sticker up whatever it is that you want. I should actually put one of these right here on the old work mat, just to have one there. As well, this is a Phillips coming off of here on the stock ones, so let's just go ahead and remove passenger front tire. I think the easiest thing really to do with these is to put the adapter on first. That way you're not going at it blind, trying to line up the little three-prong pattern that it has. And make sure that you have one of your cut wheels for the front. I think that's going to fit a little bit better than my last attempt. And you take your 1.5 millimeter hex. It's not going to take too many turns to get this spun down on here. And you want to make sure that they're tight, but not bound up, so there's no movement. You want to make sure that that's got every little bit of freedom of movement that it needs to spin properly, but that it's not wiggling inside of the screw itself. So let's quickly do the other side here. I did happen to notice immediately that the stock wheels and tires, although they're good, they're soft. Softer than what you might find on some stuff. I did find that the thing was really prone to rolling, and that was something. This one's actually getting a little bit of kind of some 3D printing junk in there. Doesn't want to seat properly. So if you find that to be an issue at all, just know that probably just a little bit of excess plastic, probably from 3D printing, that might be left seated in there somewhere that you just need to clean out just a little bit. And there we go. That seat's right on there now. No problem. And make sure you got your other cut wheel for the front. And let me just scrape it against the rock. And that is the wheels in the front. This is going to look so entirely different once this is completed. I really do think this is a great set of wheels and tires for this. Incredibly lightweight. And it gives it a really good track width. It's going to definitely give it a little bit more ground clearance on the axle, because of it being a taller wheel, taller tire on there. And they're certainly going to be considerably softer. So, performance-wise, these, I'm looking forward to seeing how they do. I got a feeling they're going to be really good. And I really like the weight of them. They're very light, which means that I can sort of adjust that if I want. I have some copper wire that I managed to get that I think is going to be perfect if I want to do any kind of like really fine tuning, fine customizing of adding weight to some wheels. It's a very fine braided or stranded copper wire that's got plenty of weight to it, but it just doesn't, it's not that big of stuff. It's really tiny stuff. I would call it like almost maybe 22 gauge, 20 gauge, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's definitely not 18, not as big as 18, so it's really small stuff, and it's stranded. And so it's just going to work out really well for adding any kind of ballast, down low like that on the wheels. I think it's going to be perfect. So I have that stuff. I just want to drive this to see how it's going to respond first, and then I will make the decision of whether or not to start weighting the wheels down. It's always a good thing to do, but at the same time, with these Mini Zs, I'm not really convinced that throwing a ton of weight on this gearbox and motor is really in the best interest of the vehicle itself, because I think it's pretty easy to overload these if you're not careful. And I have walked that fine line now with both WPL and my SEX24 stuff. Oh, look at that thing. That looks so good now. That looks so good. That's great. That's awesome. Well, okay, folks, that's the video right there. That's new wheels and tires from Cross RC, the Charisma stuff, and that's 3D Sleeken wheels and wheel adapters for the Mini Z hubs to get them over to the 7mm hex, and that as well is the magic of the light kit now installed. And there you have it. got another 4x4 ready for some video. Oh, this is great. Yeah, yeah, gosh, I could go on talking about this truck for quite a while if I really wanted to, but I'll spare you guys the